President of the United States in Pittsburgh. Joe Biden with an old-fashioned kind of presidential speech, one in which he's planning to make across the country. His poll numbers, as we were discussing before the speech, not doing well. The country in a sour mood, still very divided. And Joe Biden's answer there is first to try to communicate what he believes his administration has been able to accomplish and the impact that he argues it is having on people's lives. And beyond that, to try to talk about the intersection that he sees in his policies of research and development and investment in infrastructure and other issues and education and how they act as multipliers for the American economy. There is no question that the American economy is growing. The question is, are people feeling it sufficiently to lift their spirits? At the end, he talked about it's about time we stop fighting, start working together again. Once again, alas, what seems to be an old-fashioned idea in today's politics. So I would like to turn to State Representative Dan Frankel once again, who is joining us there. You know, it does seem to me, Dan, that this is Joe Biden. What you see is what you get. You're not going to get somebody who's trying to dominate every news cycle with a new headline or some outrageous statement just to grab attention. You're going to get an old-fashioned kind of politician saying, here's pragmatically what I'm trying to do, what we have accomplished. It's going to work. It is working already. Let's pull together. Can that work in today's political and media environment, do you think?
It's more challenging than it ever has been, but we've got to get there. I mean, he's absolutely right. We've got to overcome, the soundbite environment that we're in that basically has, made this such a partisan time. If we're going to overcome our problems with infrastructure, both the physical infrastructure of this country and the social infrastructure of this country, we've got to get back to a time when there's consensus and compromise, and it's just been very difficult. I've seen it in my 24 years as an elected official here in the state of Pennsylvania that we had a different time. When Tom Ridge was governor, a Republican. We worked together as Democrats with him to make significant improvements in our state and address issues that were compelling. And some of these issues should be bipartisan, but it's more about finding the leverage to get a political advantage as opposed to dealing with the reality on the ground. I mean, I don't think people expect us to have to wait for the next election in order to address these issues. This time is now. It's urgent. We saw today how urgent it was here in my community with the collapse of the Fern Hollow Bridge. And, I think these, why do we have to endure other tragedies as we try and address these issues? Are these the things that we have to endure in order to pull us together, in order to convince elected officials that it's time that we need to act in unison? It's funny, and I get where he's at. He is an old-fashioned politician, but there's something very, very redeeming about old-time politics, and I hope, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, absolutely. If in fact people sense that the goal of politics is to work together to get things done to improve people's lives and the future of the country. And I want to turn to our ABC News political director, Rick Klein, on that. What we're just hearing from State Representative Dan Frankel there is the sense that just a few years ago, it wasn't that long ago, that Tom Ridge was governor of Pennsylvania, and Republicans and Democrats in that state able to come together to get some things done. And those days are gone in Pennsylvania for now, and perhaps for longer than now, and around the country. And I just wonder if part of it isn't that, listening to the president speak, making what is a very traditional, I called it old-fashioned, but traditional presidential pitch. Hey, I'm working for you, and it's working for you. If it wasn't, I was wondering who was listening. If, in fact, half the country gets its news from one place or one set of places, and half the country does its own research or whatever and gets its news from somewhere else, can a president cut through with this kind of a message? Or does it instantly get filtered into different media and different realities?
Terry, I think while the message was about this bygone era, it feels like a long time ago that you could make that kind of bipartisan, cross-partisan appeal. Remember that Joe Biden won the presidency and won the nomination as exactly that figure. He's saying explicitly it was almost 3 years ago that he launched his campaign right there in Pittsburgh. He talked about building the backbone of America. And to me, this was a speech much more geared toward the midterm elections. Yes, it's about bipartisanship, but it's also reminding people who Joe Biden is and was and can be for Democrats as well as for independents and Republicans. Remember that he has spent so much of the last couple of weeks talking about obscure Senate rules and trying to talk about the stakes of voting rights and maybe not connecting exactly with people's lives in that way. You didn't hear any talk about the filibuster here. You didn't hear any calling out of senators for being obstructionists. What you heard instead was about unions, was about jobs, was about getting people a fair shake. It was old-fashioned, but that old-fashioned approach worked for President Biden not so long ago. It worked for him also in the infrastructure bill that he's there to celebrate. It's not working necessarily in the legislative push that's still ahead of him, despite his best-case scenario that he outlined today. But his hope is that Americans and his base, frankly, once again realizes that there is a way forward that embraces the idea of just trying to move the country ahead.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rick, and I want to take it back to State Representative Dan Frankel. This notion that maybe President Biden got lost in the weeds a little bit here in Washington, D.C. It just seemed like every week the Democrats were taking a vote they knew they were going to fail at in order to prove some kind of a point, or, you know, what's going to happen with the filibuster. And those are the kinds of sausage-making stories that aren't fun to do, let me tell you as a reporter, and that I don't think connect that much with voters. Is that an accurate diagnosis of one of the reasons? Obviously, people, you know, base their opinions and their votes on what's really happening in their lives, we hope anyway. But that one of the reasons might have been that President Biden disappeared into the swamp.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate description. I think there was an emphasis on the mechanics, not on what the policy and what the benefits were. So we had so much discussion about, you know, the inner workings of the United States Senate and the filibuster. Obviously very important in trying to get things done. But, I mean, I think people's eyes glaze over when you're focused on that. And the focus that I think he's trying to pivot back to that he's always been so good at is to talk about how this is going to change your life and how this is going to change your community and give your children opportunities in the future. And I think that's what people want to hear. That's what they are yearning for. They don't want to know about the politics or the mechanics of the politics and the infighting. They want to see us working together, but they want to know what we're working for. And I think that that's what he's trying to get back to here today. And you know, as I said, there's no more glaring example of something that is tangible and something that will improve our lives than the investments that he's talking about, both in physical infrastructure and in social infrastructure, that he needs to articulate and really explain to us what they are, why they're important, and how they're going to change our lives. And I'm hoping that you know, this is something that he's can continue to pivot back to and utilize as we move forward to try and get some of these things done.
Absolutely, and that is really the challenge for the president and for the country, as today's bridge collapse demonstrates so dramatically. State Representative Dan Frankel of Pennsylvania, thank you for joining us, and Rick Klein, our political director, as always, thanks for being with us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.